Hey y'all, sorry for being a little bit late. I was catching up with one of my friends and it was so fulfilling and so beautiful, and I'm feeling really grateful. Also, I didn't realize that it's not clear when it's not y'all don't know that I can't see who's here. So you actually have to like say your name for me to know. Um I'm feeling really grateful and humbled, and Abadan, hi. Um, and I was just thinking about how the sort of topic of this live is all about how when we're going through it in our healing journey, in our spiritual journey, whatever, it's really intense and it feels like it's kind of never going to end. Um, and I know I would hold on to this feeling of hope. Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're gonna get through it. It's gonna be okay. Like, and then in the moments where it's really low and really hard, we just like hold on to this light. And I'm basically here to be like, yes, it's true. Not that I'm done. Hey, I feel like I know your government name. I feel like I'm not going to say it, ADEM, because you don't have it in your title. But welcome to your live. I'm glad you finally made it. It's a different energy when it happens live because anything can still happen. We're in the present moment. If you're watching the recording, it already happened. But here, ADEM, anything could still happen. But yeah, I was just feeling into this season of my life and how I've been going through it, but I'm on the other side. Well, not on the other side because there's always more sides, infinite growth, we know. But there's just been so much light. And I want to talk about two major things that have been like heavy things I've been walking with. And then the way it's kind of shifted, just to give encouragement in case you're going through it too. Alvadon saying it's a blessing to be here. So nice. The first one has to do with money, y'all, finances. And I actually just watched this documentary on Netflix. Maybe it was called like Get Smart with Money, something like that. And the documentary itself is like, I don't think like maybe the best thing ever. But what was really helpful for me was that it showed maybe four different people slash families who were each dealing with different financial stuff, and they each got to get financial coaching for a year, and you just see their financial situation improve over the course of the year. And what was so profound for me was that even though to me like money and relationships, like money and sex are like the two things that are like get the most attention in our culture, even though I can see and recognize that, and there are so many like dire financial facts about like the average American wouldn't be able to handle a $400 emergency, stuff like that. Even though I knew of these facts, it wasn't 3D for me. It wasn't real for me. It was just these like intellectual ideas. So to actually see people from all different walks of life going through it financially and really going through it, like it being this source of like stress and concern and suffering, like I felt so less alone with it, because I've been really processing so much stuff around poverty and lack and scarcity. And it's tax season, y'all. So I got my email from my tax person like, yeah, girl, so we're gonna try to get your taxes done by Friday because you owe a balance. We just want to make sure that you know how much money you got to give to the government. And I'm just like, great, cool. Thanks for being so on it. Really appreciate y'all. Um, and that's actually what sent me into this really deep process where I really felt the overwhelm of, having a lot of credit card debt and really feeling like how I'm going to pay for it, and feeling like a lot of areas of my life were on hold because I like every dollar to me, like I would think about, because I do creative coaching, I'd be like, okay, Chimdi, you're going to get I can feel it coming. You're going to get a 10K month soon. What are you going to do with your 10K month? And I'm like, half of it I'm going to put into savings. The other half is going to go to my credit card debt. So nothing is going to change. Like, so even these like huge, big financial milestones, like I couldn't even access the energy of like excitement and gratitude because I was operating from this place of like being in debt, being in lack, not having enough. And that was like the orientation for all of my decisions. And so it was actually getting this email from my tax person and really letting myself feel it. Hi, Liz. I got a video coming out on Tuesday where I talk about the silent retreat I just did. Um, and one of the things that we're taught a lot in the program I'm in, which is about trauma healing, is about not trying to force the process. Like if you're numb about something, if you are frozen about something, if there's something that's unclear to you, there's some confusion. It's not about, well, let's hurry up and get clear. Let's hurry up and cry. Let's hurry up. Like it's not about rushing it. If you literally just are with what you currently feel, if you currently are just like, oh, I feel numb about this, like that's it. You don't have to do nothing else. You can just be with what is. And by being with it, things will move. And we have heard that since the beginning of the program. And only like since this last retreat have I really understood how powerful it was. And so, and one of the things I mentioned in the video that's going to be coming up is about like how we don't know what we're missing. We just know we're running into difficulties. And so as I was running into financial difficulties, I was like, oh, this is an instance where I don't know what I'm missing. I'm just running into areas of difficulty. And so I was like, first I was like, let me try to figure it out. Like, what am I missing? And try to ask myself these questions. Like, okay, could it be this? Could it be that? Like trying to really do it, like, let me heal it. And then I was like, let me pause. How do I feel? And I was like, oh, I feel really confused. Like I feel confused, lost, alone, scared. Like that's how I feel right now. And I don't want to feel that, which is why I was trying to solve it. But let me just actually just be with this feeling. And I did. And I wept and wept and wept. And I feel like y'all know I weep all the time. But this one, I was like, that felt like a big one. I'm thinking about poop. I'm thinking about how sometimes you poop and you're like, what a poop. It was like that, only for tears. I was like, that was a real weep. Like I really, and then I was at night. I do most of my meditating at night. Like literally it's like pitch black. It used to be 2 a.m, but I'm getting my sleep schedule together post retreat. So now it's at like 11:30 at night. All the lights are off. And I'm just like, I always think like if my sister were to walk in and see me just like sitting alone in the dark, like that's something out of like a horror movie. But yeah, I'm just like sitting there quietly. And then then I just start weeping. And so then I get to fall asleep having wept out, pillows, tear stains on the pillow, all that kind of stuff. And then so consistently, y'all, I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, like I just feel so good because I detox that energy that's been in my system for so long. And I've actually gotten to like release it and feel it. And I actually have a video coming up where I talk about manifestation and about how essentially I use one of the reasons, or I would basically use manifestation as another justification for not feeling my feelings. Because it's like, well, I don't want to affirm that I'm poor, so I'm not going to look at my finances, like that kind of stuff, right? The bypassing stuff. And that served its purpose until it no longer served its purpose, which is why I'm, leaving it behind. But yeah, and so it was after that night and then that morning. And what's interesting is like on paper, nothing has changed with my finances. Still got these credit card bills, still got these taxes due, like all these things. But the feeling is one of just like, okay, like we're gonna just one step at a time. Like it's gonna be okay. We're gonna figure it out. Like it's just a very different energy around it. And being in that energy has me feeling like, oh, like it really is going to work out. Like I don't know how, but things are just going to move and I'm going to just get certain opportunities and I'm going to get certain clients. And like, I just have this feeling of like, oh, it's going to be okay. And it's wild to not have an intellectual rationalization for something, like as smart people, as intellectuals, as, college educated people, there's this logic, mind-based way of moving in the world. And to really feel like, oh, yeah, I couldn't, if you asked me to explain it logically, I couldn't. I just feel different. And that's just kind of how it is. And it's just really interesting being with that. And it's been the thing that's really encouraged me to keep being with what I'm feeling in the moment. Because now I have the embodied witnessed experience of like, oh, it makes a difference. Like I in my body and my feeling, there's a difference. And that's kind of like the whole point anyways, because we want money, we want some of these financial things, we want some of these material things because of how we believe it'll make us feel. And I'm like, oh, I think basically everything I've been learning is like I now understand it one level deeper, which is like, oh, that thing about feeling is the secret from Neville Goddard, or the Abraham Hicks stuff about like, you connect to the energy, or like Joe Dispenza, you connect to the energy of it and then you magnetize it towards you. I think in the past I was forcing it, and as a result, I wasn't actually doing it. I was just like, I was trying to do it. I wasn't actually doing it. And there is a difference. And I didn't realize that, because you don't know what you don't know. But I didn't realize like, oh, there is like a genuine actual difference. And then the second thing that's been big in my life has been about my relationships. And I just, as a heads up, so we're going to chat here live for like half an hour. And then at the half hour, I'm going to head to the Patreon and we're going to do a Zoom after party. So just so you know the agenda for this call. But I live here in Maryland, and I have people in DC, but I don't really have people like close, dear friends who are like ideally in like in my best case scenario, I could walk to my friends. Like I could do a half-hour walk max and hang out with a friend, or they would live in my apartment complex. Like when I lived in LA, I had a friend, hey Kamali girl, we literally lived in the same apartment building. Like it literally was something out of a sitcom. It made me so happy that I could go up the stairs and be hanging out with her. Or we could go to like the patio in the back of the apartment and be hanging out. Like it was my dreams come true. And here in Maryland, where I stay, that's not my reality. And there are a lot of apartments around me. And so I often think like, I live here. So I know cool people live here. So I know there are people that I would rock with so heavy who are literally like in the next apartment building, and I just don't know them. And that has caused a lot of like, because I'm just like, it's so close, but it's so far away. And so, um, during the silent retreat, one of the big processes I had was around support and around feeling alone. And one thing trauma does is it makes you feel like you're alone, or you're the only one going through something. And in our spiritual journey, I also had this idea about like, well, we each have our own path. It made me feel like, well, I'm alone on my path because I'm the only one walking my path. And it's like, I may be the only one walking my path, but I'm not the only one walking. And I am in this community of people who are all super committed and also walking this journey with me, even if they are like, in their own journeys, internally. And so that was one of the sort of big breakthroughs I had. And so it was actually, I was talking to my business coach, and she was saying like, you're supported, Chimdi. And it was interesting because I could feel the young me, like not like being scared of whether or not that was actually true. And I could really feel her heart. And so when she said it, it like really landed in me. And I just, started crying. And then last night, I read this book called Hiring the Heavens, where you basically call on an angel for every aspect of your life. And you're like, hey, angel, help me with this thing, help me with that thing, etc. And so after my meditation, I was like, oh, let me call on a healing angel. I was like, let me check in with the angels, because it had been a while. I was like, I've got a rotation of like 15 to 20 angels for every area of my life. I was like, let me call on my healing angel. And so I called on my healing angel, and she was like, how can I help? And I was like, just be here with me. And then just feeling that like angelic support, I just started crying more. And what came up was like that feeling of being supported. And she was like, and you're not just supported in the spiritual realm, you're also supported in real life. And I would just repeat that to myself as an affirmation, like, you are supported in real life. You are being helped in real life. Like you have real life friends, you have real life support. I would just like keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And I was crying out to God and praying and all these things. And same thing, wept it all out, went to sleep, woke up brand new. And then I have a friend who I actually met because she did remote year. So I met her thanks to YouTube, because she saw my videos, reached out, and then we developed a beautiful friendship. And when I did that reality show in Mexico, she actually came. She was actually living in Mexico at the time, so we actually got to meet up. So that was really powerful. So we tend to like connect at these really powerful junctures in each other's lives. And we literally had a call this morning right before this live. and she was just pouring into me. She's also a woman of faith, and it was just this really powerful, beautiful connection. And she was sharing how God was telling her to like be persistent about connecting with me. And in that moment, I could feel how, because I'm the kind of person who would just stay by myself. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'll be cracking myself up for real. Like I really be just like cackling to myself, marathoning my Netflix shows, making my YouTube videos, playing my guitar, just minding my business. And so even though I have a yearning for community and all these things, I won't be the one to make that first step because of fear, because of, early childhood trauma. And so in hearing her say that God was like telling her, like, follow up with Chimdi, it felt so much. And I could cry and I kind of don't want to. And so I talk about weeping all the time. And then like when it comes down to it, I'm just like, I don't want to cry with people. But yeah, just like hearing her share that, it felt like God affirming to me, like, girl, I hear you. I hear your prayers. I'm actively in the world working to answer those prayers, and it's happening right now in real time. And it really was so moving. And so, yeah, I just feel like when we're in it in terms of the healing spiritual journey, it's a lot and it's overwhelming sometimes, and we feel alone in it. And it's like, you just want to quit, you want to give up, you want to stand still, you want to stagnate, you want to go back to how it used to be, all these things. And I just want to affirm, if you're in it, like it's worth it to continue walking, because the blessings you get, the support you receive, the insights, the blessings, like it just really is worth it to continue healing. And you're called for a reason, right? That's something that Thomas continues to talk about. He really keeps emphasizing that the call is the echo of the arrival, which basically means like you already here. And you wouldn't be sitting in silence for a week unless you knew that, like, yeah, you're supposed to be doing this. You're answering something that's very deep. So even if you don't know everything, you don't know all the specifics, it's not, 100% clear, like in a very deep part of you, you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that's the case for anyone who's doing any kind of healing spiritual work, because it would be easier to numb yourself out and to get high all the time and to, fall into old patterns and to keeping old relationships and doing all the things that you used to do. Like you've done that. You know how it is. You could just keep doing it if you want to. And so the fact that you choose, like, wait a minute, I'm going to make a different choice. It's because you know deep down that that's what you're supposed to be doing. So, hi, Nicole. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and pour into y'all and share that message for the people who need to hear it. And one thing that I really was reminded of in talking to my friend was that, sometimes I'll tell myself like, oh, listen, if someone has if God's got a plan for someone's life, they're gonna get there regardless. Like they don't need. Maybe my YouTube video will help them on their journey, or something I say will inspire them. But if they're supposed to be somewhere, they're gonna get there regardless, and God will find a way to get them there. And that was a way for me to not step into my purpose, into my calling, and not step into my responsibility to be who I'm supposed to be. And in talking to my friend, I realized, like, maybe it's the case that it could happen anyway, but there is a version that's the most beautiful possible version. And it's the version that includes me. Like, it will be more beautiful for me being an active part of my own life, and being an active part of the world, and being an active part of creation, than it would be if I sat on the sidelines and just let these things happen and was a passive player in my own life. So I just want to share that, because I think, especially for like creative people, when we're doing things that aren't maybe given the same kind of social value, in some ways, it's easy to say like, well, I don't need to, make this painting. I don't need to make this video. I don't need to write this book. Like, it's whatever. Right. And I think remembering that you really are not aware of the full scope and scale and plan. And it could be the book that you write that like changes someone's life, that then inspires them to do X, Y, or Z, and vice versa. And I know for me, I have many examples of people and experiences and conversations and pieces of media, and even like random comments on chat room boards, you know what I mean? That like, it was exactly what I needed to hear or see or read in that moment. And it struck me. Like I talked about this in a video about the scar that I have on my arm, where I was randomly reading like a message board where a woman just said that she also had third-degree burns, and she basically still had a man. Like basically something along the lines of, I won't use the curse word because YouTube is out here censoring us, but um just her saying that, like, yeah, my physical scars have not kept me from finding meaningful love, was like, oh, like that. And it's like sometimes you don't even realize you have these things in your heart and your spirit that are really weighing you down, because it's painful to look at them and it's painful to be with them, and to and so you never know like how your word in the perfect moment, your song, your whatever it is that you create, how that could be the thing that just brings people a lot of peace and a lot of solace, and really just changes things for them. So I guess this is my like also a little bit of a creative coaching plug slash encouragement of like why it's so important for us to be in our creative lives and our creative calling, because it really has ripples that are beyond what we even realize. Um, and one thing I think about, I've been rereading The Eye of the Eye by David Hawkins, and he talks about how when things resonate on a certain level, it attracts things with a similar resonance. And so if you like write a book, for instance, that has like a particular resonance, it will attract people who are on that same resonance. So you don't need to worry about, your book being successful, whatever else, or whatever it is you create, because if it's really got that certain resonance of truth, eventually it's inevitable that it's going to attract people who are truth seekers, right? And I was thinking about that for my YouTube, because I've noticed this like pretty pretty big shift in my audience in terms of the numbers. And I don't think it's just me. I think it's like a thing that's happening in YouTube with the algorithm and all that kind of stuff. And it can be easy to tell yourself a story about how, people don't care, or your content isn't good, or you're not going to be successful, or this, that, and the third. But one thing that allows me to keep creating consistently is that the people who are going to find this, who are supposed to find this, are going to. So it might not be right today when I uploaded the video. It could be a year from now. It could be 5 years from now. Like there are people who watch videos that I uploaded 5, 6 years ago, and they're watching it in 2023. So I can release this idea of what success is supposed to look like and what impact is supposed to look like, because I really don't have the master plan. And I think that was maybe like, one of the biggest insights from the silent retreat was like, this idea of a supreme intelligence, like God being a supreme intelligence, and really remaining humble about how much we know and how much context we have and how much we can see, and really remembering like there is a supreme intelligence at work. Like we could not conceive of how many, like, of the complexity of life. And that is what is driving all of this that we see. And when we can relax that, like, it's things are working out as they should be, then we can let ourselves live and allow the blessings to flow and all these other things. And that's also what's brought me a lot of peace. Is like, I may not know exactly why things are happening exactly as they're happening, but I can just trust that it's all working as it's supposed to. And that's also been like a fun thing I've been asking myself in moments, is like, how is this moment actually exactly what I want? And I was like sipping a cup of chai tea on my balcony here, staring out at the trees, hearing the birds chirping. And it was like a Wednesday afternoon, and it was so peaceful and so nice. And it's like, this is your life. And you have all these, grand, ambitious hopes and dreams. And right now, you are so happy that you get to sip on your tea with your feet up, with this big blue sky as the birds are chirping. Like, you love this. And I was like, I do love this. And even now, like hopping onto this YouTube live, talking to y'all, just sharing what's going on in my journey, I'm like, yeah, this is great. Like, I don't have any complaints. I really don't have any complaints. So let me know in the comments how you are doing. If there's any questions, anything you want to talk about. We got about 5 or so minutes. Would love to engage with you all a bit. But yeah, I hope you're having a beautiful Friday, and I think spring might actually be my favorite season. I've been a fall girl for a while, but like walking around and seeing all the life come back that never left, it was just, taking its time. Is really like I can feel how it's moving in my spirit to like see the physical representation of life reemerging. It feels really, really good. Um, and then I started my newsletter up again. It's called On My Spirit. And I got some feedback from my friends, and it was so loving and sweet. And I had a friend, she was like, yeah, it doesn't feel like this like marketing polished thing that you're like, whatever. Like, it just feels like I'm just hearing from my friend. And I was like, yay. Because that's one of the things that I support my clients with is like showing up authentically. And I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So that feels really good. The one thing I'll say is that because it's about like things I'm reading and watching and experiences and insights, it is making me think about like, oh, have I watched enough interesting things this week, or have I read enough interesting books this week? But it's not like it's not a fear. It's more just like I'm noticing that like impulse, and I'm like, interesting. I'm the default is to kind of create this cycle of like, oh, I need to do da 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 da. Have I done da 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 da? And people will only like me and only subscribe if I do da da da. And I'm like, look at that, like I'm just able to witness it. I'm like, oh, look at Chimdi. It's very sweet. It's very, very sweet. Liz is saying this was exactly the message I needed to hear today. Yay! I'm so glad. That's like I had a high level idea of what I was going to talk about, but you know how it is. I'm always like, let's see what emerges. I gotta say, Thomas Hubel is my inspiration in that. He does this monthly meeting called the Mystic Cafe. That man never has notes. That man's like, all right, let's see what we're gonna talk about. He just starts talking, and I'm just like, this is all I want. Like, I did a workshop recently. It was really powerful. And I put a lot of energy into that deck. And I do love making a deck. I like making pretty, slides and stuff. But it was exhausting a bit. And I was like, man, there's a world where I don't do any planning, where it's fully emergent. And I maybe have a topic and then we just be chatting. So this is me. These lives are my practice sessions for when I get to the point. And arguably I am at the point because I do get paid from YouTube AdSense, where it's just like, I'm just going to pop up, no notes, just vibes. And people are going to be like, it's been extremely helpful on my spiritual journey, as Adem is saying. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thanks for hanging out. So yeah, let me know if you have anything else to say in the comments. I think I'll chill for the next couple of minutes. And if not, I'll just like head over to the after party for the Patreon people and we'll chill with them. But yeah, give this live a thumbs up. I'm not used to that with lives. I don't know how many people, I think people do watch the lives after the fact. I washed my hair for the first time with the locks and they like basically started to unravel. So I'm just like, I'm thinking if I just cover them and keep them in the same place, most of the parting stayed the same. So I'm just going to I'm letting them dry underneath this. And I think I'm going to keep just leaving them alone. And then once it hits the month point, I'm going to retwist it. I really don't want to retwist it too often because I think that makes your locks thinner and I want thick ass locks. You know me, y'all. All right. I think I'm going to end the stream. I don't want to beleaguer the point. I think that's the phrase. I love you all. Have a beautiful weekend. I'm going to head over to the Patreon.